Welcome back to the final installment of our video series on the cumulative impact of greenhouse gases in the wastewater sector. Throughout this series, we've explored the sources and significance of three main greenhouse gases emitted in wastewater treatment plants: carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. Now, let's summarize all that we've learned throughout the series, as well as focus on the key mitigation strategies for each of these gases and how they can help us move towards more sustainable wastewater management practices. Let's take a moment to understand the total impact of these greenhouse gases in the wastewater sector. Generally speaking, carbon dioxide accounts for the majority of greenhouse gas emissions in Canada, around 80% of total emissions. However, carbon dioxide, while a major player in various sectors, is not the most potent greenhouse gas in this context. Methane, with its 25-fold higher warming potential than carbon dioxide, and nitrous oxide, with a staggering 265-fold higher warming potential, are of greater concern. Studies have shown that methane and nitrous oxide, though emitted in smaller quantities compared to carbon dioxide, contribute significantly to the overall carbon footprint of wastewater treatment plants. Nitrous oxide alone can be responsible for up to 26% of greenhouse gas emissions in the entire water supply chain. Furthermore, methane can account for around 57% of a wastewater treatment plant's carbon footprint, as well as make up approximately 79% of the Scope 1 emissions. Let's quickly recap where each greenhouse gas can come from in the context of wastewater treatment. Carbon dioxide comes primarily from on-site energy usage or off-site electricity production. This is used to power various plant processes, especially aeration. Carbon dioxide emissions can also come from the transport and consumption of chemicals used in parts of the treatment process, such as sludge thickening and dewatering. More research is required to determine the magnitude and impact of these emissions, but they should not be disregarded when thinking about carbon dioxide emissions in this context. Methane is produced in anaerobic conditions, and there are two main parts of the wastewater treatment system that it comes from. Methane emissions can either arise from sewage through vents and ground covers, or when it is directly discharged into vessels open to the atmosphere. More research is required in this area. More importantly, methane emissions come from the anaerobic digestion process, which transforms waste sludge into biologically stable inorganic digested sludge. This produces biogas. Biogas can be used in place of fossil fuels to generate heat, electricity, and steam to be used on the plant, ideally replacing the carbon dioxide emissions we mentioned earlier. However, biogas production through anaerobic digestion can release a lot of fugitive methane emissions through escaped biogas. These emissions can overtake the benefits of biogas usage and thus defeat the purpose. Finally, nitrous oxide emissions come from the nutrient removal processes in wastewater treatment, which more plants are implementing nowadays due to increased attention to the negative environmental and health impacts of nitrogenous compounds in the final effluent of the activated sludge process. These pollutants are removed using nitrification and denitrification, which are biological processes that use bacteria to remove ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate ions from wastewater. Whenever the conditions are not optimal, nitrification and denitrification can occur incompletely, which can result in nitrous oxide being emitted as a byproduct. Mitigating emissions in this context is tricky. Let's discuss potential strategies that can be enacted at a regulatory level, collaboratively involving industry and government stakeholders, while also incorporating essential research initiatives. Managing carbon dioxide emissions in particular poses a struggle due to the high energy requirements of wastewater treatment facilities. The overall goal is to enhance the energy efficiency of treatment plants by optimizing operational processes. Using renewable energy sources instead of fossil fuels can also help to reduce the carbon footprint of wastewater treatment plants. Some other fuel alternatives have been suggested in the literature, such as using microbial fuel cells to generate bioelectricity. Moreover, alternative activated sludge process strategies have been proposed, such as integrating a microalgae activated sludge photobioreactor that will help reduce biological oxygen demand of bacteria catabolizing organic matter in the wastewater, thus reducing the energy and heat consumption for aeration. While such suggestions are promising, they have a low technological readiness level, and hence more research and development in the literature is required to attest to their effectiveness and feasibility in North America. It's also difficult to control the amount of methane inadvertently leaked from sewers or anaerobic digestion, especially when we don't have a certain picture of where it's coming from exactly or how much is being emitted. One way this challenge can be addressed is by leveraging machine learning and artificial intelligence technologies on treatment plants for enhanced control and monitoring. This approach would not only provide a clearer understanding of the emission sources and quantities, but also improve the efficiency of operations by detecting and rectifying faults in the mechanical equipment. Through robust modeling techniques, we can anticipate and address future problems preemptively. This proactive stance is currently under rigorous investigation by dedicated researchers and policymakers, with TMU playing a pivotal role in spearheading these advancements. Our ongoing research endeavors in modeling and AI are positioned to increase our ability to predict and mitigate fugitive emissions effectively. We know from the last video that optimizing oxygen flow cycles can help to ensure that nitrification and denitrification occur in full, minimizing the amount of nitrous oxide that is emitted as a byproduct. Current research on alternative aeration patterns suggests that it could be a promising solution in terms of mitigating these emissions. One 2022 study even found that in a reactor using intermittent aeration, the nitrous oxide emissions from the total nitrogen load were 85% less than that of continuously aerated reactor. Another emerging approach under investigation in current literature involves membrane-aerated biofoam reactors, or MABRs, which are innovative treatment systems amalgamating aerobic and biofoam processes for efficient removal of organic matter and nutrients from wastewater. These reactors have specialized porous membranes facilitating oxygen flow without bubbles, enabling microorganisms to form biofilms that metabolize contaminants in an energy-efficient way, thereby curtailing carbon dioxide emissions. This precise oxygen control also optimizes nitrification and denitrification cycles, contributing to the reduction of nitrous oxide emissions. Overall, MABRs hold significant promise for enhancing wastewater treatment and curbing major greenhouse gases, necessitating further research for practical implementation across wastewater treatment plants. On a personal level, one might think that there isn't much we can do regarding the wastewater side of things. However, small changes in how we interact with water in our own households can help collectively reduce the strain on treatment facilities and make an overall difference. Water conservation is important to ensure that we see a reduction in CO2 emissions. Toilet flushing and internal tap use are the largest sources of household water usage. When we leave the shower on for too long or keep the water running while lathering up our dishes, that's a greater quantity of influent wastewater that we're contributing to the sewers, which requires more energy to treat, which leads to greater carbon dioxide emissions. One UK study found that reducing water usage by 52% led to a per capita reduction in CO2 emissions of 18.6 to 38.6 kilograms per year. The population of Canada is around 39 million people. If we reduced our household water usage by that much, we could reduce carbon dioxide emissions by as much as 1,505,400 tons. The CN Tower weighs approximately 130,000 tons. Our water reduction could take away a little over 11 CN Towers worth of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It's also important for us to make responsible, environmentally conscious decisions that can inadvertently reduce greenhouse gas emissions in ways that we might not initially be aware of. Let's consider this. How many times can you recall pouring excess oil down the drain? When we improperly dispose of fat, oil, and grease, it accumulates alongside other non-flushable waste and causes blockages in the sewer. When there are major blockages, the wastewater is trapped in the sewer longer until those deposits can be physically or chemically removed, increasing methane concentrations. So, for us to try and reduce methane emissions, we need to be disposing of our FOGs correctly. This involves letting grease products solidify after cooking before scraping them into a sealed, disposable container and throwing it away in the trash. We can also be more eco-friendly in terms of the products we use. Wastewater plants emit nitrous oxide because they're removing nitrogenous nutrients from the wastewater to make it safer to discharge or reuse. A simple approach we can take is to try and reduce the amount of nutrients found in the wastewater in the first place. Nitrogen compounds are found in a variety of daily use items, like pharmaceuticals, personal care products, and cleaning products. We should avoid flushing these substances down the toilet, or try to reduce our usage of them. We can also take care to properly compost our food waste. These changes are small, but they can make a difference in reducing the nutrient removal load on wastewater treatment plants, thus mitigating nitrous oxide emissions. In conclusion, it's important to recognize that this issue isn't the responsibility of just one person or one sector, but a collective initiative involving governments, municipalities, scientists, and individuals at the very core of it. Even though it might feel like the greenhouse gas situation within the context of the wastewater sector is out of our hands, there are a number of ways in which we can make a difference. Water is a precious resource, and we need to start treating it as such if we want to slow down climate change in the 21st century. Moreover, we need to be more mindful of fostering environmentally conscious practices, as even typical habits that we don't think twice about can impede progress. As taxpayers, we need to support research that will help address and combat this problem. Together, we can help wastewater treatment facilities emit less greenhouse gas and save our planet. Thank you for watching this video series. We hope it was beneficial to your learning and enhanced your understanding of this area of knowledge.